Hi everyone and welcome to this channel. Today we're looking at a very crucial topic on why African food is not as popular or as mainstream and why it is important for this to change. I mean, this conversation is long overdue. This is considering that African cuisine has a lot to offer in terms of taste, flavor, tradition, color, culture, and so much more. Funny enough, it still continues to be overshadowed by other popular cuisines like Chinese, Spanish, Italian, and so on. So why is this? Let's dive in and explore the reasons and find out ways in which we can not only embrace but also celebrate African cuisine. You don't want to miss this. First up, let us talk about the lack of global exposure. African cuisine does not receive as much exposure or coverage as, let's say, Italian, Mexican, or even the Indian counterparts. A lot of cooking shows, food blogs, and vlogs tend to have a blind spot for African cuisine. I mean, come on, who would not want the flavor and vibrance of a dish like, let's say, jollof rice that normally has that friendly rivalry between Ghana and Nigeria? And this is not the only African dish. I mean, we have thousands of African dishes across the continent which are being overlooked. Very few cooking shows actually take notice of African cuisine. Number 2, let's talk about the misconceptions. Many people have not experienced the rich variety of African foods, and they tend to rely on outdated information on the foods that we have on the continent. People tend to think that all African food is just sad rice or even porridge. It's time we set the record straight. African food is diverse with a lot of influences and flavor. As a matter of fact, if you look at it critically, it's not just a matter of food, it's a celebration of culture. I mean, take some time and go and search for Sunnyside Best Ever Food Review Show on YouTube. Look at his most recent country that he has visited, Ghana. There is a lot of diversity in that country in terms of foods that Ghana has to offer. Sunnyside has done a brilliant job in documenting the foods that are particularly available in Ghana. And this is only one country. 1 out of 54. I mean, think about the amount of food and diversity you can get in the rest of the African countries. Once you're done watching the Sunnyside episode on Best Ever Food Review Show in Ghana, you tell me if you would not want to visit Ghana and just experience the different flavors of food that Ghana has to offer. Next, let us take a look at the economic factors. African markets and restaurants are facing a huge challenge in terms of limited funding and resources when you compare to more established cuisines around the world. This makes it tough for these African restaurants and markets to be able to penetrate and reach out to a wider audience across the world. I mean, if you are a local restaurant and you're trying to compete with an established marketing power of, let's say, a global pizza chain, yeah, good luck with that. Then there is also the aspect of cultural differences that we cannot ignore. African cuisine across the continent would tend to have unique ingredients and cooking methods that would not necessarily align with the average dinner expectation to other parts of the world. For instance, dishes like injera or fufu would have textures and flavors that would raise an eyebrow or two. But hey, stepping out of the comfort zone is just part of the fun, right? It is worth noting that the scarcity of African foods in mainstream media tends to limit visibility. Not having an accurate representation of African cuisine on the global food stage is like being in a party, in an amazing party, but not being invited to the dance floor. Just look at the variety that we have. From West Africa, come to the East, go to the South, go to the North. I mean, all this should have proper representation on the global food stage. Anyway, here's the good news. We have the power to change all this. Embracing African food means exploring its rich diversity. Picture this: jollof rice from either Ghana or Nigeria, injera from Ethiopia, ugali and nyama choma from either Tanzania or Kenya, spicy fried plantains from Ghana. The combination of different spices, starches, dried fruits and meats from across the continent is nothing but flavor explosion. In Africa, it's not just food, it's an experience, with every food being influenced by people, culture, or even region. You can almost feel the history in every bite. So it's about time we get proactive by trying out different African dishes and supporting local restaurants. Share your experiences on social media. If you have a recipe, share it with the world. We can all take part in shining a spotlight on our African dishes. It's about time we embraced our cultural diversity and take part in fostering a more inclusive food world. So what's your favorite African food? Have you tried anything new lately? Let's spark a conversation. The world would love to hear your thoughts. It's time we took part in writing our own stories, our own African stories. See you in the next one. Ciao. If you're a local restaurant. If you are a local food. With every food being experienced by food people. With every food being. If you have a menu. If you have not a menu, how do you call this? Shit. If you have a recipe.